Yes, welcome everyone. We will be talking about root cause analysis and countermeasures. Believe me or not, we are talking only about accident management in this particular presentations. So yes, we will understand why an accident occurs and how do we get rid. So basic causes, basically if you look into it, is the management of the areas, the environment, the equipments and human behavior. Basically one of the major reasons for any accident is us as a human beings, us as a behaviors as to how do we perform or how do we act, perhaps react at times. So we will need to understand what the attitude of the top management is, the environment that we work around it, the equipment that we utilize, and the human behaviors as such. So let us understand what are the causes that comes around it with management. If you have a forthcoming management who is sympathetic towards the cause of the employees and the workers around, probably they will have a safe system in place. In other cases, it might not be the scenario, it might be the profit only motive that comes around it. So, yes, systems and procedure is very pertinent. We will talk about the environment, which is both of natural and man-made. We'll talk about equipment, the design of the equipments. At certain times, what happens is equipment are mostly designed for right-handed person, and often it has been found that there is a certain percentage, maybe perhaps less than 4, 5, 6%, are people who are utilizing and who are basically left-handed. So need to understand which equipment is to be suitable and what for what kind of jobs. So let us go ahead with the management. If you look in the picture, both this gentleman is actually at a height breaking up a structures and they don't have a safety harness to go around it. There is no fall arrest procedure system in places. This is what management is all about it. The lack of systems, the procedures, the availability, or even the lack of common sense or supervision thereby. So the system and procedures is what predominates, which might accelerate accidents or probably from happening one. Similarly, there are three types of environment. The physical environment is all about lighting and temperature, and when I say lighting and temperature, it can be the presence or absence of either of them. Then comes the chemical, which are of vapors and smoke. Probably your sight get displaced, your sense of smelling gets overpowered, and it might be the reason. And there would be the biological areas wherein the reptiles and the bacteria, if you would it, the rattlesnake is coming around at you. So yes, these are the environment in which the most of the accident that occurs. I am showing you the pic of an environment which is very badly done as far as housekeeping is concerned. You see everything has been loitered here and there. This is which I see an accident prone zone. Again, for design and equipment, workplace layout, design of tools, equipment maintenance actually plays a major role. Now, here we need to understand if things are not properly stacked, properly inventoried, properly indexed, it is not only difficult to retrieve them but also impossible for you to manage the same go. Design and equipment is all about suitability and stability. We look forward it. We are talking about guarding, the rail guards, the staircase guards, the stair rails, the handrails, the ergonomics thereby is what are we looking at. Yes, let us understand at times us as a human being, us as an employee, us as a supervisor, us as a manager tends to extend beyond the realm of our capabilities. Look at the pic, what has been shown. This particular lady is actually trying to clean something which is just beyond the purview of her width. And probably what eventually happens is not important, but this is an dangerous behavior, not limited to in an accident. It might happen to anyone and everyone. Yes, we're talking about human factors. Most of the time, look what has happened. This gentleman, by mistake, has put his own hand in the lathe machine, or probably in the machine, probably having unwanted consequences thereby. This is all about commission and omissions. Deviation from SOP, standards operating procedure. We're talking about lack of authorities, the shortcuts, the remove guards. At times, because of the lack of time, or at times because of it, it is going to extend a lot of procedures in between. People try to take shortcuts or remove guards, perhaps accomplish their behavior, only making it more critical for an accident to happen. So let us understand ABC of human behaviors. One, what is to be done as on when on basis. The activators, if I say so, is around 25 mile per hour. You got to go around it. Competencies, as in how it needs to be done, are you capable about it? Because in cases of activators and in cases of competencies, if there are any mismatches, it actually leads to undesired consequences. Look what has happened. If you are not adhering to the speed limit, probably you will get a ticket. So there are consequences. So your behaviors, your competencies would be talking around it. Did I say mention of ABC models? Yes, we let us go with the ABC models. It is all about antecedents, which is all about triggering behaviors. Your things for reasons for which you might react or might feel certain fashion are not related to the accident per se, but there are other antecedents that comes around. It is boggling your mind. Your thinking power has been clouded as far as things. You are preoccupied with certain things that has happened somewhere else, or probably your mind is not at the right place. Now this kind of behaviors is what leads to your decrease in performances. That is what the behavior is all about. It since there's a decrease in performances, since there is a decrease in concentration, since there is a decrease in analytical skills on the part of a human, it leads to consequences. So antecedents, behaviors, and consequences, which might be detrimental in the long run. And this is what ABC model is all about. It I again repeat: antecedent, A for antecedent, B for behavior, consequences. So let us understand there are only four types of consequences per se. If we have come across with it, these are the things that needs to be taken into consideration. Positive reinforcements is that you keep on doing this and you will get positive rewards. Negative reinforcement, if you keep on doing this, you will be keep on getting punished. So probably this is one of those ways to accelerate, or should I say, uh, escalate your behaviors or the desired result or desired performance. So yes, we are talking about punishment. If you do this, you will be penalized, or extinction, ignore it and it will go away. Probably this is something which needs to be adhered, and probably people do actually follow it up. So there are only four types of consequences. Now, what are the consequences which influences behaviors? And this is purely based on the perception of significance. If you think you can get away with it, probably you will tend to repeat the business or tend to repeat the behaviors, because you think that you can really get away with it, and perhaps quite a number of times you have already got away with it. You might actually repeat the thing. So significance is all about it. The impact that comes around it, which might be positive or negative as the case might be. Did I say if you have the desired behaviors, we would be rewarding it to you each time and every time? That is what the positive behaviors is all about it. Timing is all about immediate or futures, as the case might be, and consistencies are all about certainty. Degrees of certainty, if I may say so, wherein you are completely certain and wherein you are not at all certain. So there is something called certainty and uncertainty. So yes, the behaviors are based on the perception of significance, timing, and consistency, as the case might be. This needs to be taken uh, considerations. Let us understand the human behavior. Why do I am stressing upon the human behavior? Because this is the only reason for majority of the accident. More than 50%, if I may say so. And believe me, this 50% of times percent of the accidents can be reduced or eliminated if only we can remove or probably streamline our behaviors as in human behaviors. So nothing can be much better than having a good analysis and probably good consequence management thereby. So behavior that have consequences are soon, certain, and positive. This is three types, and I will come up with another three. So the behaviors which are actually rewarding or probably not so rewarding, it can be said on a time basis, on certainty basis, and the positive or let us come with an example. Yes, if you see there's a child who is crying, it's an emotional outburst. There is a person who is overweight. Absolutely, yes, as in the overweight consequences are all about it. And this is all about physical consequences. And yes, there is an economic consequences wherein the policeman is giving you a ticket. So you have emotional, physical, and economical, or should I say, consequences thereby. So which one of this side probably have you often followed and often ignored? The safe way is the best way. Probably you have often ignored. Stop. Probably you have often followed as such because there's been direct to you. Again, what I am trying to do, we have been polite in one of the sequences, but think this the safest way is the best way. You might not have given the so-called positivities to this particular statement because either the statement was too long or it says there are other ways to understand it. But when I say stop, there are nothing else that comes in your mind. So human behavior needs to be understood. Did I say about the three consequences of soon certainty and positive? Let us explain it one by. So consequences that follow soon after behavior has a stronger influences than the consequences that occur later. I will give examples of later consequences also in the subsequent slide. So yes, timing does plays an impact. Silence often is considered to be consent. If you have not said anything, if not uttered anything, it is meant that you are going with the flow, as the case might be. Failure to correct unsafe behaviors continues to haunt everyone. Failure to correct unsafe behaviors continues to haunt. Now, let us understand the human behaviors in face of certainty. A consequences that is absolutely that needs to be taken into consideration, that is certain or uncertain, unpredictable. You need to understand what level of certainty are you looking at as your behaviors are concerned. Corrective actions can be prompt, can be consistent, and can be persistent. Again, I repeat, corrective actions can be prompt, can be consistent, and can be per se. Let us complete with human behaviors. What about positivity? A positive consequences influences behavior to be more powerful and as powerful than a negative consequences per se. So yes, I am emphasizing the fact that if you cajole a person, if you reward a person, if you give a pat on the back, I am sure the person is going to repeat that positive behavior instead of whether if you're threatening a person, insulting a person, or probably demeaning a person that uh, might not have the desired impact altogether. So penalties and punishment often, more often than not, doesn't work. I am not saying they're not effective. At times they are effective too. Speeding tickets analogy is one of those behavior that comes around it. Despite, and please answer it to yourself. Despite the number of tickets that you have been served, have you ever reduced your speeds, or can you say that in future you will never get a speeding tickets? Perhaps no. So that is what is a negative consequences and punishment that doesn't work in favor. So human behaviors, did I say I will give you on a time basis, on a certainty basis, on a duration basis, the concept of soon basis. Now, if there is somebody is smoking, it becomes very difficult for a smoker to stop. Why? Because the repercussion is a long-term effect that comes around it. Is it soon? Probably as soon as possible. Probably not. Is it certain? Again, there are 50-50 chances. It research says doesn't mention that every time you smoke you end up with having or probably suffering cancer at any point of time. That's not something which one can positively pinpoint the reasons for having cancer. Positive is a nicotine high content. Probably yes, that's one thing which you goes around it because nicotine actually gives you a kick. Now let us understand the other consequences are. So yes, smokers have later in years later will they will impact, they will come to know that their lungs have actually been corrupted or probably has become dysfunctional. So it's quite late that they come to know, so the repercussion is not immediate. Similarly, for uncertainty, I have already said that not every smokers will get into lung cancers. The chances are there that more than 50% might not even get impacted at all. And negative definitely is a lung cancer. I cannot say anything to around it. So you have to match your balances, and that's the reason why if the consequences are not enough, felt enough as early as possible, you tend to continue, and that is what happens with it. So anything which deviation from standard operating procedures as a case might be, let us understand there are no safe procedures. Employee don't know the safe procedures. Probably they're not aware of the safe procedures. They're not aware of how the machines to be handled, how the chemicals has to be managed, and so on and so forth. Everything has not been dictated, nothing has been given in a written format, and this majorly, the ignorance majorly is the reasons for accidents to happen. Employee knew, did not follow the safe procedures. Probably this is again a behavioral problem. Procedures encourage risk taking, as in because of the lack of time, because of the productivity issues, because of any other reasons, you might skip a step or two of the process, and which might lead to a different consequences altogether. Employee changed approved procedures. Now, the third question is, what would you do as a worker if you take around 10 to 15 minutes to don a correct PPE, that is personal protection equipment, to enter area to turn off the control valve, which only takes around 10 seconds. So you have to prepare for a 10-second jobs around for 100 for anything around 600 to 900 seconds of work around it. So 10 to 15 minutes of preparing yourself, arming yourself with personal protective equipment just to switch off a control valve, which might take less than 10 seconds. The chances are people might not actually follow the dictat altogether. They might not follow the procedure, but then this will have a catastrophe on their health altogether. So, punishment and threatening workers is a behavioral method used by some management program. Did I say about the management at the very beginning? Probably yes. Punishment often works if it is immediate, as immediate as is possible. Occurs every time that there is a safe or unsafe behavior. So punishment is something which needs to be uniform and repetitive, so as to remove that sort of behaviors from the person's habit altogether. This is very hard to do. Absolutely yes, this is extremely hard to do, because at times you might not be there and people might get away with it. This doesn't help you in the long run. So mm, that needs to be kept in mind. Let us say about the three things that I have been trying to tell it to you about, based on the duration, based on the outcomes, based on the positivity of the result, the soon, the certain, the positive reinforcement from unsafe behaviors outweighs, absolutely outrightly outweighed the uncertain, late, or the negative consequences. So please, it is always the safest way is the best way, is what I will always say around. People tend to respond more positively to praise and social approval than any other factors as a we're talking about human behaviors. Some expert believe you can change workers' safety behaviors by changing their attitude. Definitely, yes. Probably people do so. Accident reports are safety attitudes. At times, we are all adhering to it. The safety attitude that comes around it, a person attitude towards any subject, is linked with a set of other attitudes. Trying to change them all would be nearly impossible, as the case might be. So yes, an attitude needs to be corrected. An attitude needs to be towards safety procedures, towards safe behavior. Because if accident is to happen, it might not happen with the person who have adopted a wrong or unsafe behavior. It might happen to everyone associated within the vicinity for no fault of theirs. So yes, human behavior change leads to a new attitude, because people reduce tension between behaviors and their attitude, and this is to come across it. Let us understand attitude as the case might be. Look what the pick is all about it. Attitude is your thought process, right? And this is what needs to be taken into consideration every now and then. Uh, our, our inside, everything, all of us, it is inside in the amygdala. Amygdala is the frontal portion of the brain that comes around it. Therefore, they are observable, neither observable nor measured. So it is the thought process that is there. Attitudes can be changed by behaviors only, and nowhere else. Nothing can be done around. So yes, human behaviors, if we talk about it, attention, behavioral safety approach focuses on getting workers to pay attention. Inability to control attention is a contributing factors in multiple injuries as often as possible. You can scare workers into a safety focus with pay attention campaign, as the case might be. Yes, what we are we looking into it. You can scare the workers. and safety focuses on pay attention campaign. Uh, right now, you need to educate the workers. You need to educate that the good behavior, the safe behavior is all that we are looking at it. We are across anything that comes around here. So, lack of reasons for attention, as the case might be, what are the reasons or the lack thereby? Technology encourages short attention span, probably TV remote and so on and so forth. If we were going to go around it, yes, the span of the people have shortened down over a period of time. We had spoiled for choices, and that's the reason why this lack of attention gets the prominent nod in the society. Increased job stress caused by uncertainty. When I say talking about uncertainty, it might be a stability of the jobs, it might be the mergers and acquisitions in the industry, it might be the reasons where there is a lot of downsizing or right sizing, as the case might be. Lean staffing and increased workload. When I say lean staffing, it means basically we are not only trying to manage man hours but also manage machine hours, and then probably we trying to equate them on an equal parameters. So probably we are asking more of a work from an individual than what was earlier been done. So that requires a quick attention between tasks, that requires a multiple tasking, fast pace of work, yes, little time to learn new tasks and do familiar ones. Reasons for lack of attention, as the case might be. What are the reasons? Work repetition can absolutely lull a worker for the loss of attention because they are doing their repetitive work, and as a result, probably at times they go with the flow, and that might not be the right thing to do around it. Low level of loyalty shown to employees by ever reorganizing employers. The employer is keeping everybody on a foothold, on a toehold. In fact, all the employees, they are always steady, and they primarily might, if they are not steady enough, they primarily might lose their employment. So this makes the workers very uninterested, very univocal in the sense, if they are going to be with the job or without the job. So the loyalty factor that comes around it, the workers become detached. Absolutely, yes, the loyalty factors that I say. Inattentive workers go with the flow, and they are going with the motion, and they are not interested to do anything beyond a certain point of time, given the fact that they are aware of the fact that the employers are only interested in productivity, and they are not interested into the human aspect of their employment altogether. So, focusing on awareness is a typical education approach for unsafe, or should I say, safety behavior. Awareness. Remember, this is one of the points that needs to be taken into consideration every time you talk about it. Example, you provide an employee with persuasive rationale to wearing safety glasses and hearing protection in a certain area. This is all approach that comes around here. Developing personal safety awareness. Education is something which we need to hang around or probably hammer in the heads of the employees every now and then, because that only and only that can reduce the possibilities of accident. So before starting, consider how to do a job safely is something that can be written down on their workspace altogether. Understand the requirement of personal protection equipment and why to use it and how to use it correctly. Determine the correct tools and ensure that they are in absolutely fine condition. Scan the work area, know what is going on. If you find certain things which are littering here and there, you need to do the right housekeeping out there. Scanning the work area will give you a correct idea about the availability of the equipments at what places. As you work, check your position. Reduce any strain as often as possible. Any safe act or condition should be corrected. Remain aware of any changes in your workplace, people coming or people going, as the case might be. Talk to the other workers about safety as on when on basis. Take safety home with you. This is something which you not practice only in the workspace, but probably adhere that habit of safety first. Everywhere you are, everywhere you tread your path, be it your home, be it your commercial space, be it your industrial space, be it your office space, you want to go around it. So, just want to ask you, plain vanilla 5 questions. Do you want to work safely? Probably yes. Do you want others to work safely? Very much yes, because most of the time and you get into an accident for a fault of somebody else. Do you want to learn how to prevent accident injuries? Probably the right way to work around it. Yes. How often do you think safety about safety as you work? Probably every day, every moment, because it's only takes a split of a seconds to have a catastrophic consequences. How often do you look for action that can cause prevent injuries? Now, many a times the management can be positive, can reinforce the safety behaviors every now and then, probably on a monthly, quarterly, or basis. So let me give you another things that probably you might be able to answer it in a much better fashion. Have you ever carried wood without gloves? Have you ever left something in a walkway that was tripping hazard? Most of the time, all these answers, all the questions that I'm seeing around it, perhaps the majority of the people who are engaging to the work into the such kind of area of carrying wood, or probably working in a shop floor, they will be saying yes to such kind of questions. Have you ever carried a stack of boxes that block your view? Probably your eye view, visual things were blocked. This is again a chances of you tripping down. Have you ever used a tool equipment you didn't know how to operate? Probably the new equipment or the tool might be new. It might have some fine nuances that comes around it. Have you ever left a desk or a file drawer open when you work in an area? Most of the time, you might be doing it. Have you ever placed something on a stair just for a minute and might have forgotten it? But even if you have not forgotten it, even a minute delay is inviting accidents to happen. How have you ever done anything unsafe? Because I've all this way. Now, why do we do this thing? The only main reason why we have those questions, and if your questions have been answered in a positive fashion, why do we do it? We always blame into one person, one thing, one unit, one aspect, and that is time. Why? I will again elaborate you with approximately four statements which you must have heard in your workspace. All this safety stuff takes time, doesn't it? Probably you have heard about this. I'm too busy. Probably I don't have the set requisite time. I can't possibly do all these and all this with stipulated time, if I may say so. The boss wants the job to be done no matter what. So it is all you're blaming on the unit called time behaviors, but that is what is detrimental for you. So please, does rushing through a job, working quickly without considering safety really save time? Probably no, I don't think so. Because eventually it might get delayed, and you might be involved in an unwarranted consequences as such. Remember, if an accident has to occur, the job may not get done on time, and somebody could be injured, and that someone can be you, could be you. Please take proper precaution. Play, follow the standard operating procedures to the brim, and you will have a safe workplace. With this words, I wind up this today's presentation. Thank you for watching this video.